allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Information appropriate meeting notice.
Meeting was noticed on Friday, December 3rd. Agenda is posted at the post office, library, city hall, and city website.
Thank you. Sarah showing up as being here now. Can you hear us, Sarah?
Yes.
Okay. We're down to council acceptance of the agenda.
I'll move to accept.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Langen,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Motion passes. Personal appearances. Anyone in the audience that wishes to speak on anything that's not on the agenda? Okay, we'll move on to the minutes from November 15th.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, roll call.
Braun,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Motion passes. Looking through your part of the agenda here, I was thinking about maybe moving up, yeah.
I was thinking that with the acceptance of the agenda too, that we
Yeah.
probably should bump up the, what is it, the plan? Commission report? No, RDA,
RDA.
because we've got a couple items under finance that need to take a little bit.
Would everybody be okay with moving the RDA report up to the first committee report? Is there any objections?
I have none.
Okay. Let's go with the RDA. And the RDA met earlier tonight. And the main item was to transfer the Edgerton Outreach Agreement for 210 West Fulton. Before we do anything, Sarah said she'd like to speak on this. I'm going to grab a microphone so
Here, sir,
everybody can hear.
you can use this.
And what I wanted to do is just clarify the request. Edgerton Outreach is in the process of forming a partner nonprofit that all of our housing programs would be eventually transferred into. The purpose of doing that is to protect our community-focused organization with our new, keep them separate is the best way. And so I want to make sure that we move forward. We're looking for permission in the wording of the agreement to possibly in the future transfer the building 210 into Hope Housing Inc. of Edgerton. And so in the agreement right now, it reads that you cannot transfer. I'm still learning as I go through a couple new grants that will go into the project. And so I want to make sure that I don't muddy the water until the construction is complete. And so if we enter grant agreements, we obviously need to enter those as Edgerton Community Outreach, because that's how we're applying for the grants. But when the project is done, we're looking for the wording in the agreement to be able to transfer, if that's what the board and our attorney suggests we do.
Thank you. Sounds like something to do.
So, yeah, could we make that motion as, for timing as appropriate? I mean, when needed? If we make a motion to do that, does that become effective now?
You're authorizing it, you're not requiring it.
Yeah.
Allow to.
Allow. And that was conceived in the original documents that this likely would be happening. So as long as you are comfortable as a council with the successor party, I think you can proactively approve it at this juncture. Again, it doesn't, as Ramon indicated, doesn't require that they go, just permits it without coming back here for further consideration.
The motion should state that the agreement is allowing to be transferred
and that the council is accepting of the entity to whom it is being transferred or is being proposed to be transferred to. Now, if it ends up being transferred to someone else or some other entire, that would be a problem.
Does this entity exist already?
It's in the process.
So that doesn't matter that they don't actually.
As long as as long as you're comfortable in understanding who the successor entity is going to be, I would not have a problem. It facilitates moving this project along. If you're not comfortable with it, they have to come back and take it up.
So nobody's made a motion yet? Okay, so make a motion to whatever Bill just said.
I'll second whatever Bill does.
Second, whatever. Okay, any further discussion on that? Hearing none, roll call.
Burdick,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Braun, Langen,
Yes.
Candy Davis.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Now we'll go back to Candy with finance.
Okay, finance met this evening at 6:30. I'll make a motion to approve the change order for Johnson Brothers for the crosswalk replacement project, which was a decrease of $7,331.02.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun, Langen,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to approve final pay request for Johnson Brothers for the crosswalk replacement project in the amount of $11,220.58.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Braun, Langen,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to approve change order number 1 for Sir Lancelot for the Highway 51 and Highway 59 pavement markings project, which is a decrease of $4,422.10.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun, Langen,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to approve final pay request for Sir Lancelot for the Highway 51 and Highway 59 pavement markings project in the amount of $4,315.74.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to approve bills and payroll in the amount of $169,195.37.
I'll second.
Any questions on the bills? Hearing none, roll call.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Motion passes.
And there were no license applications this evening. Motion to approve amendment to Cedar Corp agreement for South Main Street engineering services.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Motion passes.
And finance did not recommend anything for the amendment to revive Edgerton policy for subsequent loans and grants. We wanted it brought forward here to council for discussion.
Okay.
Page 5 briefly describes what the request is. The policy question for you is, should there be any limitations about subsequent applications once an application has been approved? The council asked for data. That data is on page 7 of where we are so far. There is an application that just came in today, so that's kind of how it works. So, but this is the most current information about where we are with the program.
And again, just to kind of level set, the request or the question was, should there be a time limit, right, that we should put on here that they have to wait before they can come back and apply for additional funds?
Correct. And the grant issue, I think, it adds to the complexity, maybe is the real reason, is should someone be able to, as an example, take a project that could be one project but has several pieces and break that into several projects and not receive a loan, but in fact receive only grant money, knowing that the grant is not 100% grant, it's 25% grant. So they still have to take money out of their pocket in order to do that. But it was, I think, the intention of the committee is to try to have this money revolve through a loan component. So before staff went ahead and approved subsequent loans, we wanted to have this conversation.
Could you refresh my memory? Is there, how much grant money do we have for this program?
The total amount of money we started with is $354,000.
354, and already, well, not already, but to date, we're at 10,565 without today's request.
Yeah, the
Correct.
correct.
Yep.
3 of those are pending, though. Know that money has not been, you know,
Right.
the checks haven't been written.
Just curious.
Correct.
Yep. And we started that, what month this year? Was it in the summer, spring?
Yeah, my memory doesn't work that way.
Yeah,
So I
okay,
don't know.
I would say probably July, August, by the time we got
Okay.
everything put together.
So, Julia, so we have 6 or 7 requests so far in a short period of time. So I'm trying to figure out, you know, is this successful? Do we find this as successful so far? Obviously, the information is out there in the community and people are utilizing it. Okay.
I have a question. The largest project here is the $24,000 project? And 800?
44.
Yep.
44,000
Almost
project
45.
cost. Yeah, under project cost would be the total project cost.
24.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong line. Yes, the $44,000 project.
Correct.
Is the issue that they could apply 3 different times for electric and AC and windows and recoup $7,500?
That is correct. That is what someone may propose to do.
Yep. And, okay. One thing this could simplify it. Mr. Burdick may have more to add, but I mean, one way to look at this is the funds generated, so I brought this up last time and I'm kind of comparing it to the facade grant program. And they are different. The facade grant program is generated, the revenue is generated by that TIF and those buildings that are in that TIF. These homes did not generate through a TIF the funds that we're working with here. So if you want, I mean, there's lots of ways to peel this onion when you start looking at what's eligible with this program and how it's funded. But I mean, I could be convinced like it's as simple as that that's how the funding came. And there we go. Now, both of these facade grants and this program are both, the revenue both come from TIFs. So in theory, both of them are not an unlimited source of funds either. So yes, we're talking about, you know, that someday this program could run out of money. when we retire a TIF, we could give it an influx again, if the law still allows us to put more money in there. But the same is true of facade grants. You know, where that has an end date, that's going to end. Now, we'll figure out how we continue to fund facade grants, but the same is true there, right? They're both funded by TIF, so that's not an unlimited period of time that will generate revenue.
Is there a limited amount of people that can take advantage of the facade grants?
For sure, there's only so many buildings in
So,
town.
whereas this, there are many, many, many more.
Many more. There are, and that onion I'm getting at is, you know, that's not someone's income. That is just what their house is assessed at. And I didn't want to go here with this, but I mean, tonight when I was at home looking at the eligible expenses, asbestos removal is one of them. Well, I had that done. My house doesn't apply for this. I had that done this summer. Isn't it the same? I mean, it was just as unsafe in my basement as it is in anyone else's, right? But, so, we just gotta come down on some side of this, because you can always find something that's a little bit inequitable about how these programs run. There just is.
Absolutely.
Because they're complex.
I want people to take advantage of it.
I do too.
want as many people to take advantage of it as possible. When I say take advantage, though, it's not manipulate. And that's where my struggle is I don't want people to manipulate the
Right.
program. I want them to be able to take advantage of it and allow people to take advantage of it.
Yeah. And just, right or wrong, we're gonna approve 2 facade grants tonight for $10,000 twice for the same building. And they're doing basically what a few of these are. They're doing windows, and they're doing tuck pointing up front. I mean, 2 very distinctively different projects, but that was maybe my first point last time, was we don't bat an eye at that. But we thought we had to slow this down, when I'd be interested, I mean, I'm still like willing to just let this run a while and see how it really happens in reality versus how we think it might happen. And again, we're gonna put 20,000 in, it's all good investment. And if it's 20,000 for that building down there, I don't know if I'm that worried yet that 7,500 went to a big project in a home here. I also, one other metric that would be interesting as the program goes along, when we track who these are, is it'd be interesting to know the assessed value of the home when they applied. Was this the lowest of the low, or, you know, was this house assessed at just under the limit? Was it a $200,000 home that got a big, you know, boost?
Yeah.
Or was this something, you know, that really, really needed it?
The change in assessed value would be, I think, a very interesting thing to track over time. To see
Yeah.
how what the program has produced.
Yeah, or even just the line on there of what the assessed value was at the time they applied. And yes, over time, we'll see what did happen.
That's the whole idea of the program,
Correct.
to bring them up, to get them up, to get the whole thing, everybody raised.
And that helps everybody, because then that home is contributing more. That helps the people whose homes didn't qualify.
Right.
So,
I'm just gonna renew my objection to the 2 years that you guys are putting in, or somebody's trying to put in. I don't agree.
So I actually, having had the discussions, I don't agree with 2 years either. I'm not quite off of the 1 year yet, but I think that's what the discussion here is around. I just don't like the idea of somebody manipulating the program, because you have a finite number of people that can do the facade grant. There's a lot more that can take advantage of this. That's my hesitation.
But wouldn't,
I'm sorry, wouldn't implementing the 2-year thing at least take a little bit of that risk away? Is that if there is no limit, then it's like, okay, we're gonna do electrical, windows, and AC all within 13 months or whatever. If there is a 2-year, and that was something that they thought they were gonna take advantage of, I want 25 electric, I want 25 windows, I want 25 AC, that would make it a little more difficult for them to do that.
They would have to take a loan out.
Right. Which is what we kind of want them to do anyway, basically. I mean, right?
But the conversation with the committee is there was a goal to have this revolve. It wasn't gonna all be grants. So,
Right,
yes, I think that was.
So,
Grant,
if there is a legitimate
add
worry,
it as an incentive for people to use the program.
excuse me, sir, if there is a worry about that, then the 2-year might at least put a little slowdown on that.
I mean, I think that's the major difference between the facade grant program and this program specifically, is that the grant program is a grant program, period. This was not just a grant program. We added the incentive for the grant program in order to, with the hopes of people to actually utilize this program specifically. It's not a grant program.
My objection, I just heard someone say that if we do this, it's gonna make it more difficult for people to, well, we didn't wanna do this to make anything difficult for these people. So why are we gonna implement something that's gonna make it difficult? I mean, I agree, we don't want this to get, but we've got a few months worth of data. We've only blown a grant at $10,000 out of $350,000. It's not like we're going broke.
I'm not looking to make it difficult. I was just asking, what is your level of concern that it would be manipulated? If that level of concern is low, then that's fine.
I think it's
If
too
it's
early
high,
to say.
Then,
Still, I think it's still too early to say. We're only 6 months into this, not even that. So how do we know we got one guy that's trying to play it, maybe. But if it's a $50,000 project and we give him 75 bricks, we just gave away 20,000 for a guy that's doing $40,000.
They are different programs.
I understand, but we're not here to make it difficult for people to do this program. That wasn't the idea.
No, absolutely, and it has not been difficult for the people so far. I don't think anything's been difficult. A question came up on, to me, I think, it's like, well, if I break these apart, I'm gonna get twice as much of a grant.
I understand, but we haven't.
So, just bear with me a minute, because when we have the facade grants, right, we don't have people coming to the commission saying, I want to do this a little different because I think I can get more if I do this or that, right? There's strict rules and guidelines that is adhered to participate in that program. And I along with Sarah, when she said when this was set up, it was set up as more of a revolving loan, but we added the grant piece into it in hopes to help incentivize people. So, they're totally different. And, that's why I asked, I couldn't remember what month we started this, but it looks pretty successful. Does not mean that it can't be in the future looked again, but if this is not set up like the facade grants downtown. This was set up different. We added the grant amount to it. But if we've got somebody else coming in requesting 3 different things to get 3 different grants for one project, so to speak, we'd have to go back and talk to all these other people who we've already are approving to say, oh, guess what? We can triple your grant money. Oh, we can double your grant money. But that's not how it was set up and when they applied, that's not.
a sign in the yard that says
No,
you
we
can
don't.
do
We would
that.
not even do that.
No, but we can't have somebody new applying for this and letting them do that and not giving the other people who've already come forward. We've only given, Look at the first one up here.
No,
There's installation and there's windows. There's one grant of 2,500. But if we say, hey, guess what, you split those up, now we're gonna give you 5,000.
First of all, they didn't get 2,500.
Yeah, they got smaller amounts.
They got smaller amount. Well, then that's a bad example. Let's look at number 5 here. Giving them the 7,000 or whatever. See what I'm saying? If somebody now comes in while this program is up and running, and we make a change, rightfully, we should go back and make a change for anybody else who would come before that person.
It doesn't look like any of the first
You
three
go back
got
one
the
page.
full amount though. So I don't think we'd
Go
have to.
back and what somebody else did.
The last two did.
Those are pending. Those are pending. Those haven't been
No,
done.
you
It's up to them, so.
Exactly.
What if the top 3 came in for another grant?
It'd have to be a different project because they're already done with those.
Did they do all the windows? Come back for the other half?
Well, now, see, that's where you guys, where I think we're losing, when we say project, and we're telling somebody to combine everything, we should have somebody, a building inspector, somebody out there that can determine what a project is. You can't have a guy say, I'm doing my north side windows this time, and my south side windows next time, say 2 projects. No, windows are windows. We would say that. Why wouldn't somebody else say that? But if somebody says, yeah, I'm gonna do my roof once, and then my windows next, and then my porch next, that's 3 different projects. I'm not gonna.
Oh, I don't
You know, I'm gonna do
disagree.
it over
It's a
time.
matter of how
Okay?
quickly you could have those projects done.
Well, you're not gonna, you wanna wait every other year to do something? Or you wanna build this house up and get it ready and make it look nice? You wanna wait 6 years to get 3 projects? No, you do, you got a summer, you do 1 project, next summer you do another, or maybe you move it indoors and do your electrical, but you got, you're not, I know what you're looking, it's not gonna, I don't think, 350 grand, I don't think is gonna go that fast if you're going 10 grand every 6 months and you still got loans out there, you got interest coming in, granted it's 2% or whatever we gave them, right, 2%. But I'm just thinking, if I wanted to rebuild it to get my house looking sharp, I had to run down and I had all this stuff going, I wouldn't want to have to wait 2 years to apply again or take out a loan I didn't have the money in the first place to take out the loan, so why am I, I'm gonna take it all out now and stretch it out. I don't know, guys, I'm just maybe I'm looking at it totally different, but I'm just trying to get the best out of it, and the house is looking sharp and things are done. And I don't see 350 grand going like, you already got 28.6 in the loan amount, so you got something coming in. Ain't much, but it's something. You got 3 times as much coming in as in loans as you have, or almost, as you have in grants.
As it sits now, I think.
As it
You know,
sits now.
both those, the number 5 would probably break that up into 3 projects, the way it appears to be written here, and number 6 would do.
He didn't though, but he could have.
Well, it's pending. But if we approve it differently, then he or she probably would.
I was just thinking, what if instead of working on a timeline of reapplying, maximizing, letting one property only take out $250 or $2,500 in grant money, anything above that would be a loan, and they could apply as often as they want, but you cap your grant, once they've applied or capped their grant, then you go into the loan program. That way they could do 3 projects, but the grant money's capped and you continue a revolving loan project or a program.
So you mean we would change the percentage of the loan?
No. Well, that's part of the problem, I guess. I'm just thinking of a way, and you could apply numerous times. It wouldn't be a time frame issue. It would be you cap your grant.
The grant, the timing of it, yeah, okay.
So like this first person could apply again, and until they receive the $2,500 in grant, they would still be part of the grant program. But once they hit that threshold, then it becomes loans.
All loans.
It's just an idea instead of thinking of a time frame, thinking of maybe the program pieces. Just a suggestion.
I think conceptually, though, if someone were going to reach that and then try to do another project and it were a small project,
That might be
administratively, the
problematic.
loans, as we're learning, are way more burdensome than the grants. So that's why we put the $10,000 limit in there, so we wouldn't be doing a loan for $10. So, so I think that in concept, I think your idea gets at what I think some people are at least talking about. You would just have to think through in practice then, when someone came back and, okay, now they have a $100 project and, you know, we're not gonna do a loan for that. 'Cause-
Yeah,
So if we just wait and see what happens with the and we just open it up and they can do what they do. Can we then revisit it in a
Anytime.
year?
Yeah.
And then put the, okay, you know what, we've seen too many people manipulate this system.
Mhm.
And then we could add in those stipulations that wouldn't allow it?
Anytime, it's your
There's no
policy.
reason for that. Or a reason we couldn't do that.
And that's a good idea, because we have a very small sample size.
That's,
We can't even make projections off of 6 people.
and that's what, when
A
he
year
talked
from
about,
now-
we want this to be successful. We want people to take advantage
You know,
of
a
it.
year from now, this page will be filled, and we can look at
And it
it.
could be all 2,500, which, okay, fine, that was the reason for it. So.
What if we just raise the maximum grant up to 5,000 and see where it goes from there? You're still taking care of some of these bigger projects, because they're not gonna hit the 75% on that, other than, well, the 2 bottom ones will, but it might give somebody more incentive to do some more if they had 5,000 to work with.
Are you still a 25-75 or a 50-50?
Still 25%, still 25%.
Yeah,
Okay.
that changes the.
It just brings the maximum up there on those.
For
ones that
larger
are-
projects.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you could hit that 5,000 grant if the project were large enough. Is that what you're saying?
Right.
Yeah.
And those 2 on the bottom would hit it anyhow.
Would or wouldn't?
They would. I
Yes.
mean, they'd still go over the 5,000.
I don't know, that's me fundamentally changing the program, though, right? So, I'm more apt to just let it ride for a little while, then let's reevaluate it.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, that doesn't quite help with the person that comes in that wants to break it up into 3 projects. We're saying we're gonna allow that, is, if we're gonna let it ride, that's what that means, right?
Oh,
That would
that
be
right,
the-
meaning, because right now we don't have the 2-year stipulation.
We don't have any, right?
But that'd be the data we'd be looking at, like you just said, 3, 4, 5 months from now, we'd be looking at it and saying, okay, we are getting
Right.
jacked. I mean, somebody is pulling the game. Then we'd be looking at that data. If one guy does it in a year, is that enough to change the whole
No, then it's not an issue.
And you could argue that if this gentleman and family are doing it, there's 3 different projects there, I mean, you could.
Would you put a overall max on that? So for this number 5, would you give those, would that be a $7,500 grant?
Electric, windows, and AC would be 3 different, so, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if they chose to do it that way.
Okay.
See if we get burned. We don't know.
It would also depend on the cost of each project.
It could be a vending problem. I mean, I know I'm kind of was going on both sides of it, but I'm just trying to discuss it. We could be inventing problems. It will never even materialize. And we won't know until 6 months, a year from now. We'll look back and go, I can't believe we were worried about people doing that.
I think it will materialize, just so you know. But given the questions that we are asked, so I assume that it'll just be the way the program will run. And that's fine, but I think we should assume that will happen that way, because people have already said, well, can I apply 3 different times for 3 different projects at the same time?
Fair enough.
But wouldn't it depend on the cost of each project? It's not gonna automatically be $2,500 each time.
Oh, of course not.
That's
Right.
so, and they still have to put out that money to make up that difference.
Correct.
It's just no longer the loan program.
Mhm.
Their costs go up too.
And this loan through the city is really only advantageous for folks who don't apply for other loans like through the county, even on the city's webpage, correct? With this program, right beneath it is, if your income is beneath X for a number of people in your household, you can get 0% loans. But we could never compete with that.
Yeah, those are income restricted. So
Yes.
there may be a subset of the population that's in both camps, but not necessarily.
Right, right. Okay, so not everyone who applies and it would get our grant would necessarily even need our loan because their income may open it up that it makes more sense to go elsewhere and get an even lower rate than we offer.
So are we leaving it as it is right now? Any motions to do anything different?
I'd like to revisit this in 6
I was
months,
just, can we put a time on it so that we can review it again?
just to see what the numbers look like.
So if we think we did it in August, give it 9 months from August? So what's
Or
that?
6 months from now.
6 months from now.
Yeah,
Yep.
6 months from now.
First June meeting.
Okay. Good with that, Sarah?
So we have no motion to make for that because nothing's changing,
Correct.
okay? Can I move on to the next
Go back
one?
on you now.
Okay. Back to me. Okay, for the next couple. Motion to approve purchase of accounting software cash receiving module from Civic Corp. In the amount of $6,300 plus $1,500 to equal $7,800. And I'm saying those two numbers because in your staff report, it shows the 6,300. But since the staff report, more information came forward that for an additional $1,500, we can have one more access or seat at the table for this software, which would be very advantageous. And by the way, this $7,800 is going to greatly improve productivity and staff time with staff time. In addition to, did we decide utilities? No, we are not deciding yet where the funds are going to come from. We have the funds, it's just a matter of whether it'll be utilities or ARPA or surplus. So,
And I'll second.
okay, Chris? You
Did you
want
get that motion?
So, yeah, it's a shorter motion, I just want everybody to understand.
You got it.
Okay.
Any discussion?
Don't repeat it.
So we're clear, then there's also the $1,125 support fee. That actually, I don't think that figure's actually been mentioned, I didn't hear it.
No.
But that would be.
That's the-
Right, and it still comes with this purchase.
Correct.
It actually-
Adds to this purchase.
It's actually waived for the first year.
Yeah.
But it's an operating cost and we want to make you aware.
Yes.
Correct. And then it wouldn't, by adding that sixth seat or whatever you called it earlier, that wouldn't change that figure.
No. So, yeah,
We're
they,
not jumping up a different tier, all that, okay.
Anyone else?
Well, would you like me to repeat my motion?
No.
I know.
Okay, roll call.
Candy Davis?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Paul Davis?
Yes.
Burdick?
Yes.
Braun?
Yes.
Langen?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to approve contract with Key Benefit Concepts for compensation benefit study required for audit in the amount of $3,200.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Candy Davis?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Paul Davis?
Yes.
Burdick?
Yes.
Braun? lose her?
Sarah?
Nope, she's still there.
Yes.
Langen?
Yes.
Motion passes.
And number 14, finance decided to bring this forward to council for discussion.
It's actually number 11 on the council.
Oh, I'm sorry, number 11, I'm looking at the wrong agenda.
That's
Okay, number 11.
In front of you is update from the fire chief. You have something you want to keep us on that?
Page 5 is a staff report, and there's a conversation that was added in your packet regarding questions staff had and were answered by the district regarding the request and the basis of it. The only thing I would note in the staff report is the one thing that is of particular interest is the premium pay that was offered to employees at the district, and the city council didn't offer premium pay to any city employees during the pandemic. So whether that is apples to apples, that is for you to determine, but we did want to make you aware part of this is for premium pay. And the number is reduced now, as you can see from the new schedule that was at your place this evening.
So of the total request, about 10,000 of it is the, okay, right there. 10,007.
It's what, the premium?
The premium pay, yeah, with the FICA in it.
Yeah, so when we talk about the premium pay, then compared to, Ramona, you had said other city staff, meaning like police department, would that be a
Yes.
good comparison?
Yeah, probably the best comparison, because they would be probably most apt to be interacting. I mean, all the staff interacted with the public, some more than others, but the police department probably had the highest risk.
Yeah. So that makes sense to me. Having said that, I would, my own personal, and I say this because I was at one time an EMT, and this isn't all the time, but I would assume the EMTs, in fact I know, would have more of a closer contact with people more times than a police officer would, more times, I'm just saying. And when I say close contact, I'm talking touching, breathing, sometimes breathing for the patient, that kind of stuff. I'm not saying, I don't want to underestimate the police officers and their contact.
We had an officer today with close contact with a person who tested positive with COVID. We had another officer who I'm writing a commendation for last week was giving CPR to an individual prior to EMT getting there.
Right.
So that's not fair to say.
Well, and again, Chief, I'm not saying apples to apples, I'm talking, you know, the abundance of how many times, that kind of stuff. Chief Pickering is.
I don't know if diffuse is the right answer, but I can probably change the discussion a little bit. None of that premium pay went towards our career employees. That premium pay was for the on-call personnel that agreed to respond in, and AKA our volunteers. That premium pay was not added to any salary associated with a career employee.
Thank you, that helps.
Sorry for not making that clearer to start out. We used the terms that are defined in the ARPA rules. And so I can see where it would be conceived as or perceived as increasing the base wage of an actual career employee. That is not how we use that money.
Okay.
So that just went to the people like I used to be. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it went to the people who,
A little
On
more, a
call.
little more incentive to show up in the conditions that the work.
basically, right, we're asking them to leave. Yeah. basically, it was exactly that. It was an incentive to ask them to continue to respond during a situation that probably caused some of them to think otherwise.
Any thoughts from anyone?
Well,
Motion or anything?
my thoughts are, I would like to see us help provide the request to the fire district out of our ARPA funds. This is not a motion, it's just kind of how I feel about it. I think, you know, if the fire department was part of the city, like the police department, the library, the whatever, right? They would automatically be part of those ARPA funds. The reason why it's a district and we're not part of the city where they automatically get the funds, this process we have to go through this process. So from a fairness perspective, I think, and for knowing, and I'm closely connected with it since I sit on their board by being the council member, I see here everything that the fire district does for this community and other townships. City of Edgerton is not the only city, or the district is going to the other townships too, requesting money from their ARPA funds. When I see everything that the fire district does for the city and the other townships, the literally life-saving and house fire savings, you know, I think it makes sense to help provide these funds through our ARPA program. But I would welcome debate from study too.
Maybe you should make that motion.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion to approve Edgerton Fire Protection District ARPA eligible expense detail is provided, the amount of $35,296.41.
You just want to do the city portion, don't you?
We're just doing our 11-8.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought this was the city's part, okay.
Oh,
Take it.
Cindy?
no second then.
I'm sorry, $11,844.72. I apologize, I thought this breakdown, I see that, that's the total breakdown, that's not the Edgerton's, thank you.
Okay, is there a second?
I did. I second.
Oh, you did?
I'm sorry, I done too much, yeah.
I threw you with the amount, gentlemen.
Just you me.
Too cheap.
That's a good treasure.
Any other discussion?
You just did that to the 11,000 would sound really good, didn't you, Candy?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Make a motion to approve supersized facade grant application for 4 West Fulton Street for windows in the amount of $6,251.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Do we need to put on there that these have to be approved by?
Well, I was thinking that, but it wasn't
Historic.
discussed at.
You can still make that a condition if you want, that it requires historic approval.
Upon historical approval.
Is that okay with the second?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to approve supersized facade grant applications for 12 West Fulton Street, one for roof work in the amount of $10,000, and the other for windows and tuck pointing in the amount of $10,000.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to approve supersized facade grant application for 102 West Fulton Street for furnace replacement in the amount of $2,591.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Motion passes.
I think I spent enough money tonight, that I'm fine.
And we should have moved number 8 up a little farther here too, because it's part of the Fulton Street project. Okay, personnel? Anything for personnel?
Yes, of course. Personnel met on Monday, November 29th. We did go through policy manual amendments with respect to leave time and tenure pay. You will see at a future meeting, policy amendments for those. We also discussed the job descriptions for the clerk and treasurer position. Also had internal candidate that was interested in the clerk's position. So we did an interview with that individual, and a posting, I suppose is the okay word to say, has been sent out through the process that the city uses for the treasurer position. So more updates on that to come, and that's it.
Thank you. RDA, we already covered that one. So, Plan Commission, somebody want to take that one?
Plan Commission met earlier today, and basically gave direction for staff to construct potential ordinances regarding electrical vehicle charging stations. And also considered extraterritorial land division on Rock River Road. And with that, I will make a motion to approve extraterritorial land division in section 15 of the town of Fulton on North Rock River Road for Shooty.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Motion passes. I had somebody nudge me to move this one up. So Sarah and Fred could have got out of here.
We're still thinking about ourselves.
Next item is consider adoption of City of Edgerton Resolution 2221, authorizing the submission of a community development investment grant application to Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation for the 210 West Fulton Street project.
Also move.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Langen,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item is to consider amendment to Badgerland disposal contract regarding waste oil and battery drop-off.
Page 6 of your packet is a brief description. The current contract requires the city's waste hauler have a collection event, meaning their staff comes and sits at our DPW each month to allow residents to drop off waste oil and lead batteries. The turnout has been very low, and Badgerland is requesting we move that to quarterly as opposed to monthly. It's your call. We haven't asked for any kind of compensation back and forth for this. You certainly could, although, this is a relationship that has all kinds of give and takes. So if you wish to consider that and wish to have some kind of reduction, we could ask for that. I guess as a staff, we're thinking that this is one of those things that if it makes sense, it'll be, that it'll all come back out in wash in the end.
How would we notify people? Would it be through one of the newsletters?
We put it in the newsletter, and the publication that Badgerland makes for us, the color one, the calendar, recognizes this. We took a bit of a risk in doing that because it had to get printed before this was approved, but if you had said no, we would have then put something out in the newsletter indicating that it was still monthly.
Right. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Ron,
Yes.
Leinan,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis.
Yes.
Motion passes. Mayor, Alderperson, and staff reports. You're eligible to be circulating papers, those that are up, and anybody that's interested in running for any of these seats. Got till what, the 2nd or the 3rd of January?
I think it
First
is.
Tuesday in January?
First Tuesday in January.
That's all I have. Jim?
Oh, I just want to give a quick shout out. I pulled a little article off the Janesville Gazette here and gives report card scores for school districts in the area. And of all of them listed, Edgerton School District has the highest exceeds expectations score of any of them here. So kudos to our school district. I'd like to put the shout out there. Too bad none of you's here for it, but they far above anybody else in the area. Yeah.
Yes, and I apologize for this. I should have caught this earlier and I didn't. Usually at our first meeting of the month, we do have an update on the fire district. I didn't catch it. I apologize. Chief is here. I know we discussed the ARPA funds. Chief did hand out to everybody the monthly report. I don't know if you have something very quick to say, Chief, other than I know the calls have been unbelievable as far as the amount of calls we've had. You can see days above average call volume in the little box here on the sheet, and had a terrible weekend with a lot of fatal calls, if you will. And I know the department has been extremely busy. We have our monthly district board meeting this Thursday evening. Is there anything else, Chief, you'd like to add?
And actually, Chief Kowalski kind of set the stage for it. You have, we're starting to comment on the number of days with multiple calls simultaneously. We're actually now trying to look at the number of times in a day where we have 2 or 3 calls going simultaneously. There was literally one day last month where we could have used 4 ambulances of our own. We had multiple mutual aid, and the one comment I was going to make, in the last 4 days of this month now, Friday we had 9 calls, Saturday we had 7, Sunday we had 5, and today we're now up to, we think, 7. We've actually lost track today. So if it just seems like it is unbelievably busy, it is, and they are not simple calls. I wanted to compliment Chief Kowalski and his staff. At one point on Friday, we had 2 different pulseless non-breather calls going simultaneously. And his officers on the second call did just an amazing job to do everything they could to cover until we could get a mutual aid ambulance from another district. We were actually able to free up one of our ambulances to respond, but there was a delay. And I wanted to compliment Bob and his officers because they did a great job until we could get there. We'd love to be able to say we can figure out what's driving this without getting too deep into all the emotion associated with this. COVID has a lot to do with this. And we're starting to see indications of the long-term impacts, not only just COVID itself, but the health conditions that are coming out the backside of COVID exposure. And so we are probably going more towards back to some of the precautions we were putting in place in 2020 in terms of how we're handling calls. I was going to make sort of a tongue-in-cheek comment about the ARPA funding. We have probably used over $1,000 in decontamination supplies just today. We've had three of the 7 that we've dealt with today have been true exposure risk incidents. And the impact that this has on us is that ambulance that transports a COVID positive individual, we need to take that ambulance out of service because there's a period of time that the ultraviolet lights and everything that we've got the ambulance is equipped with now to decontaminate them, that's not instant, right? So you've got a decontamination process. So in a really strange way, adding the 3rd ambulance when we didn't really understand why we were adding the 3rd ambulance has turned out to be unbelievably important to us because we can do the complete decontamination without having to basically take an ambulance, take one out of our fleet. We've got the backup to be able to cover it. So this is kind of an interesting time. We're sorting our way through it. And on behalf of the district, I certainly want to say thank you to the city of Edgerton for helping us support our way through this. So thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Or somebody want to do the closed session that you're going to stick around for anything?
Guys, one more thing. The lights at Central Park look wonderful. Everybody's had a chance to look through there. They look great.
Not the depot.
The depot looks awesome too. I don't drive through the depot. I do drive through Central. A motion to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, discuss and consider land purchase, and closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.851C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Discuss and consider WPPA union contract.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Candy Davis?
Yes.
Burdick?
Yes.
Ron? Langen?
Yes.
Shaw?
Yes.
Paul Davis?
Yes.
We are in closed session.
That's weird.
I wanted to